In this video, I will put a spotlight on Mr. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a celebrity of politicians because of his family name. Riding on the fame of John F. Kennedy, people will assume that he is one of the good guys. However, not all Kennedys were the good guys. I remember when Ted Kennedy was around, I was not a fan of him. And what of his other current relatives? It seems most of them support Biden. Weird that they would not support their own relative. So I'm going to explore RFK Jr.'s true affiliation. One good way to show this is through the subject of the environment, or more specifically, geoengineering. In June of 2023, I heard him have a discussion with Dane Wigington of GEOengineering Watch. Some peculiar things stood out to me that RFK Jr. said, so I finally decided to make a video on it. So I will play the first clip.
And, I was in the environmental movement for 40 years. I didn't work directly on climate because I mainly focused on pollution issues, which are related because they're coming from the same factories, and for the same power plants and cement kilns, et cetera. But I was working for organizations like NRDC, which were very heavily involved in climate. And Gates never contributed to these organizations. He was not contributing to climate advocacy like maybe, some of the other, like Ted Turner and Bloomberg and the other people who talk about climate a lot. They were giving money to people who were advocating for, laws to end subsidies to the carbon industry and these kind of things. But Gates really was never involved in doing those things. So his involvement in, then he goes ahead and writes a book on climate this year, and he starts pretending that he's a big climate activist, but he's never been involved in climate activism. The only thing that he's been involved in is, as far as I know, is funding these big geoengineering projects that seem just insane.
Now in that clip, RFK Jr. focused on Billy Goat as the bad guy, setting up a paradigm. I am the good guy and he's the bad guy. The right and the left. He goes on to say how Billy Goat isn't interested in the climate but geoengineering, that he has been funding geoengineering projects. This is misleading, since geoengineering has been going on since before Billy Goat was on the scene. Geoengineering is likely fully backed by the bankers or the military-industrial complex. RFK Jr. also noted that his focus was on pollution, not climate. On to the next clip.
I got to push back on that because I know these environmental leaders and I know their environmental groups, and nobody's worried about losing their 501c3 by taking a tough stand on an issue. There may be other reasons why they're not doing it. That would not be a reason. They're not going to. They're not going to lose a 501c3 by criticizing the United States government. They can't do that to you. I think that probably the reason they don't want to do it is that it's regarded as a crazy person's issue.
Before the clip, Mr. Wigington says that the environmental groups look the other way on geoengineering because of the 501c3 government tax exempt status. Mr. Wigington still to this day says that is one of the causes. So RFK Jr. didn't change his mind. He didn't change mine either. You see, churches are bound by the 501c3 also if they want their tax exempt status, money in their pocket. I used to go to a Baptist church years ago, and the pastor said they weren't allowed to talk about certain issues if they wanted to keep their tax exemption. There's a reason why there's a clergy response team. There's a reason why during the 2020 biological event, some churches promoted taking the injection. I live by a small Texas town, and even the Baptist church there offered free injections for a period of time. After completing their duty to the government, all of a sudden they had money to construct a new addition to their church. Shameful. If I went to that church, I would have left. What else has the 501c3 status? The NFL. That's right, a billion-dollar business. And as many of us in the actual truth community know, they are going along with the satanic agenda. So RFK Jr.'s premise that an organization couldn't be manipulated by the government through tax exemption is ludicrous. So why would he say that? Now for the next clip.
My mind is open to this, is because Woody Harrelson one time was at my house and he was talking about this. This was probably 10 years ago. And I was saying, come on, that's ridiculous. That's impossible. And he said, come outside with me. And we went outside and we sat on a hillside and we watched these planes fly in a grid pattern, laying out this, a grid of contrails, and then it turned into clouds and we had a cloudy day. And I don't know, I've looked up many times since then and seen that happening.
So at this point, Mr. Wigington should realize that RFK Jr. is pulling his leg. This is the part that provided a clue as to whose side RFK Jr. is on. He brings up his good buddy, the Hollywood celebrity, Woody Harrelson. Like the rest of Hollywood, he is a part of the club, the cabal, the satanic order. So you mean to tell me that RFK Jr. has no clue as to Mr. Harrelson's affiliation? This is the type of person RFK Jr. likes to hang out with? Then goes on to tell Mr. Wigington that when he saw the grid patterns in the sky, that he thought it was just normal at the time, still referring to them as contrails even though they dispersed to form clouds. This is where RFK Jr. is lying to Mr. Wigington. Nice little story you told to Mr. Wigington, RFK. Must have been a perfect day for you and Woody. Also, while looking up stuff for this video, I came across the movie LBJ. I was stunned to find that Woody Harrelson played the role of Lyndon B. Johnson. This just added on to the curious relationship between RFK Jr. and Woody. One might think that RFK Jr. would not be a fan of LBJ. He took over after JFK died to fulfill the agenda, one of them being weather control. So one might think that RFK Jr. might ask Woody why would he play such a role if they were buddies. I guess because in reality, RFK Jr. is a part of the satanic agenda, just like LBJ. Another discovery I made while looking into this was that LBJ was a Freemason. Now the plot thickens and starts throwing all sorts of red flags up for me. So let's go back to RFK Jr.'s statement of him focusing on pollution rather than climate. At this point, we should realize that RFK Jr. already knows that geoengineering operations are going on. Even Lyndon B. Johnson touted weather programs, as Mr. Wigington has noted many times. So I'm sure that John F. Kennedy was aware of the situation also. Eisenhower was probably aware of the program too. He did warn us about the military-industrial complex and the technological scientific elite. I say all that to express this. There's probably a reason RFK Jr. focused on pollution, not dealing with the cause, but rather the effect. So maybe there's more to the story. Now for the final clip from the discussion.
And a final factor, we have a U.S. Senate document 800 pages long that outlines global cooperation between major governments, major superpowers. Even if they have, quote, otherwise adversarial relations, they will cooperate in the climate engineering operations, because you can't just climate engineer over one country without affecting the entire world. Within that document, there is a provision for total legal immunity for anyone and everyone involved.
In that clip, I decided to take a statement from Dane Wigington that he has made many times over the years. He cites how all countries are working together on the geoengineering program. This isn't the only area where countries work together. In 1959, a bunch of countries signed the Antarctic Treaty. This showed cooperation to keep people out of certain areas there, basically. A lot of countries also promote their fake space programs to keep the world deceived. There is no such thing as country versus country. Satan rules all the kingdoms already. The leaders of these different lands keep their people in a state of fear or anger from another country. This is divide and conquer. Through this, they can push the war of escalation. They're building nukes, so we have to build them. They're building drones, so we have to. They have 5G, so we need 5G. They're building artificial intelligence, so we have to, and so on. As a result, all of the world has the same technology. This technology does not benefit the people, only the controllers. Under the cover of war, these evil people can push a lot of agenda items. Just like there is no such thing as country versus country, there is no such thing as Republican versus Democrat. That's an illusion. They all serve Lucifer. By setting up the right-left paradigm, people won't see that they are being manipulated. Right now, some people are becoming aware of the New World Order, the next big boogeyman. However, they bring the disease and the cure. To continue in their right-left paradigm strategy, there must be a counter to the NWO. To counter this, they have given you your resistance leaders. You may know some like Alex Jones, Joe Rogan, Russell Brand, and Tucker Carlson. These individuals are helping set up the real world order. I'll have to do a separate video on that though. This one is already too long. But back to geoengineering and RFK Jr. Do you think that Trump is going to stop geoengineering? How about Obama Biden? Do you think that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to stop geoengineering? How about Governor Gavin Newsom? Of course not. Dane Wigington already talked to Governor Newsom. What about my Texas State Governor, Greg Abbott? Please, don't make me laugh. They're all on board with the Luciferian agenda. So I will part with this. I will play part of a political ad from RFK Jr. In it, he discusses the environment. Pay attention to what he is actually saying. Read between the lines. And also note that since his discussion with Dane Wigington, he has made no mention of geoengineering. So obviously, he has dismissed the subject. What caught my attention though is that he refers to and displays a fig tree, once even referencing the divine. It sounds to me like he is mocking the Bible in a way. No mention of Jesus, just something divine. Will he be promoting Gaia, the creation, and not the creator? Listen to the rest of it though. Anyway, that's it for this video. Enjoy the clip.
This fig tree that I'm sitting in, probably 200 years old, and it began as a little tiny seed with almost no chance of growing. And yet it's grown into this mighty structure that dominates the waterway. I've spent my career fighting so that Americans can enjoy these kind of natural resources. Nature is the infrastructure of our communities. And if we want to meet our obligation to our children, to give them the same opportunities for dignity and enrichment and prosperity and good health as the communities that our parents gave us, we've got to start by protecting our environmental infrastructure, the air we breathe, the water we drink, the wildlife, the fisheries, the public lands. When we destroy resources like this, which we're doing all over the country right now, we destroy part of our capacity to sense the divine. And in that sense, it's not just an economic problem, but it's a moral problem. As President of the United States, one of my missions is going to be protecting resources like this so that my children and then my grandchildren can come and climb this tree and lots of other fig trees like this and enjoy the same serenity and enjoy the same connection to nature as I grew up with. When you invest in my campaign, you're investing in our future and you're investing in our children.